Hey my friends, this is Shawn Thomas. I'm coming to you from Germany. I am in the beautiful backcountry of Germany, and as you can see, I'm standing with the new BMW R 1250 GS. Now, I'm going to take this bike for a ride with you, and the goal is for me to learn and for you to learn with me some of the new nuances of this machine as compared to its predecessor. So let's take a spin and see how this bike looks, feels, sounds, and goes. So I'm starting it up now. There we go. Everything's looking good. The first thing we'll do is start it up.
Okay, now, wow, okay. So the first thing you notice about this bike is the sound. The quality of the tone is a little deeper. It doesn't have sort of the higher pitch tones that I heard in the predecessor. And I think that has to do with the new ShiftCam. The way it opens valves is not quite as high pitched as tone. The other thing I noticed right away is the vibration. This bike has a lot less vibration than its predecessor. I mean, it's a twin cylinder bike, and twins vibrate. That's the reality of the bikes, but it is much more diminished than in the past, a lot smoother motor. So I'm going to switch the ride mode right now. I'm going to go into rain mode, and we're going to start there. Rain mode is the most relaxed mode in terms of torque curve. It's designed for low traction environments. We're going to see how this bike feels. We'll just take a little spin through the backcountry to start with. Here we go. I've got the RPMs way down. I'm going to give a little blip of throttle, and we're going to see how it sounds. Whoa, okay. All right, so right off the bat, there's a lot more low-end torque, even in rain mode. I just gave it a little whip of the throttle, and I really feel it. So it's ShiftCam technology at work. And the way the ShiftCam works is when you're riding a really low RPM, it's only opening the valves, the intake valves a little bit, and they're actually opening at two different rates. One valve is opening a little more than the other. So not only is it a little more efficient in terms of consumption, but by only having one valve open larger than the other, then as the fuel and air mixture comes in, it swirls around and it makes a much more efficient combustion. The other thing is that the valves open and they close before the piston is all the way down to the bottom of its strokes. What happens is the valves close and the piston is still going down, and that sort of makes it spring back up again and gives it a really nice end result. Is I'm really feeling the torque. The bike is very efficient. Now, I'm keeping the speed down. The speed limit in these little towns is about 50 kilometers an hour, so just feeling it out and giving little rolls of the throttle to see how it feels. There's just, even in rain mode, the bike really wants to go. Okay, so we're getting out of town. I'm going to go and switch to road mode, and this is going to loosen things up. It's going to give me a little more power. Oh, this bike wants to go. You see, I already saw my traction control light come on. The roads are a little cool here, so and I'm running on knobbies. Knobby tires mean that there's a little easier to get the rear end drifting out. Road mode, the traction control is very active, and it steps in very quickly and keeps the rear end from coming out too far from underneath me. So now there's a lot about this bike that's the same as its predecessor too. The ergonomics, for example. You'll notice when you ride the bike, your ratio from where you sit and how your feet are on the pegs and how far your arms reach out to get to the handlebars is basically identical to its predecessor. And this is something that BMW has spent a lot of time ensuring stays similar throughout the model years, because it's such a popular riding posture. Your weight is centered on your hips as opposed to being on your arms. Your arms are loose, and this is great for long distance touring. It's great for sport riding, and of course if you go off road, it's very easy to stand up and get into a standing, relaxed standing position, or even an aggressive standing position. So it's really, really good. The other thing is the wind protection on the bike is really good. You see, I've got a short screen here, and the minimum goal of any screen is to keep the wind off your center mass. So basically right in your chest, right where this camera is actually, is where you want to keep the wind minimized and keep it clean, so the wind that does hit you isn't buffeting you around. It's very smooth. Of course, this is adjustable. I can bring this up if I want to get a little bit more wind off my chest, and I can bring it back down again. Other versions of this bike have different windscreen sizes, so you get a bigger screen, and it'll give you a little more wind protection. But you know, those sorts of things are very personal in terms of preference. Now, we're coming into I'm going to get into some twistage here now, and what I'm going to do is switch the bike into dynamic mode. So I've just switched it over, and all I'm going to do is roll out the throttle and roll it back on, and now the bike's in dynamic mode. Now, in Dynamic Pro, you have 4 elements that are affected. You have your throttle response, so how much power you get changes when you change modes. Your suspension, how stiff the suspension is, changes. Your ABS brakes, how quickly it reacts, and of course your traction control. In this case, this bike now has dynamic traction control, which is reacts based on wheel spin, but also based on lean angle. So it's much more efficient. So we're going to open it up a little bit in some of these turns to dynamic mode and see how this ShiftCam reacts. I've got a couple twisties coming up here. And so right now I'm going about 86 kilometers an hour, and the ShiftCam is in its lower valve opening position, but as soon as I roll in the throttle, in about 6 milliseconds, the ShiftCam will shift over to the next position and open it up. So I've got some turns coming up here, and we'll see how it feels coming out. Here we go. Whoa! Oh my goodness. That has got so much get up and go. I'm going to drop the speed way down for this next turn. Drop it down, drop it down, drop it down. So now I'm doing second gear up down into 48, 45 kilometers an hour, and I'm going to drop through. Whoa, my goodness. Okay. You see that traction control light come on. And I'm on knobbies. When you're on knobbies, they want to slip, especially when you roll the throttle through a turn. And in Dynamic Pro, the traction control is more relaxed. You can actually feel the rear end just have a little bit of drift before the bike intervenes and keeps it from getting too aggressive. Comes another turn, dropping gears, dropping in, powering through. There is just so much power. It's really, really impressive. Now, we've had some fun on the asphalt. It's time to have some fun on the dirt, and I have a surprise for you. We are at Hechlingen. Hechlingen is the Enduro Park from BMW in Germany. This is one of the best off-road schools in the world, and we're going to take this bike for a spin in this Enduro Park. So I'm going to switch modes now. I'm going into Enduro Pro. So now the bike is tuned for off-road. The ABS on the rear brake is now turned off. The traction control is really relaxed, so the rear end can drift free, but it won't drift free for too long. It also allows me to loft the bike a little bit over jumps. And throttle response and ABS and suspension are also affected when I go into Enduro Pro. So now I'm standing up, make just a little adjustment to the camera, make it sit up, but we're going to have a little fun. Here's some single track. Okay, well, there's no doubt there is just so much more power. Oh, I just broke the rear end free. No problem at all. Of course, that wasn't a problem in the past. It feels really good. This bike has shift assist pro too, so I'm able to upshift and downshift without using the clutch. That is a really nice feature. Picking up the pace here. Traction control kicked in. I let the rear end brake be a little too much. The traction control stepped in and eased it up. All right, here's a little area. This is one of their advanced training areas. The Enduro Park. We're going to take a little spin here and see how it feels. Now, one of the things about adventure riding, you're going off-road, it's easy to watch and enjoy people doing tricks on bikes, but the reality is it takes a lot of talent to ride slow. Riding fast is more or less a little easier, but riding slow and maneuvering slowly, this is a more difficult endeavor. And the reason is because you have to have really good clutch and throttle control, because you're going slower than the bike could go if you were simply in first gear with the clutch all the way out. You have to pull the clutch in, you have to make movements with your clutch hand to ease in and out of the friction zone. And traditionally on big bore bikes, this has been difficult because you're moving a lot of weight, and you have to be listening really closely to what the motor is doing to make sure that you're making the proper adjustments. And right away I can tell you, going through these cones, it's a lot easier with this bike because of the new low-end torque, because of the ShiftCam. There's so much more efficient use of the low-end power that I'm having no trouble at all Oh, and there I go stalling it. Oh, gotta go in again. That was less to do with the bike and more to do with me. And feels really good. Now let's go and play on a little single track here. See, Hechlingen has just got so many places to play. Oh, very cool. Yeah, the bike is... as soon as these bikes are in motion, you just don't feel a weight anymore. It just moves so easily, so smoothly. Making my way around, kind of a little fun. I think I see a bit of a hill climb there, and I want to go have some fun with it. So I'm going to take some of the single track over to a hill climb. Do a mild, a very rocky climb. Let's climb some rocks, shall we? Here we go. Up. Nice. Very manageable control. Easy to use the motor's power. And because of the center of gravity, as with all of BMW's recent 1200 designs, the center of gravity is so low. It's so easy to move it around. All right. Single track is opened up. I'm going to go down one of these drops here. Go up and go over these humps. Just good. I love my job. Whoa! All right, my friends. There you go. The new BMW R 1250 GS with the new ShiftCam motor. A spectacular job by the designers and engineers at BMW. Well done. Really had a good time. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope to see you again soon. Rock on.